Hello. So after getting the introduction of HTML, we delve straight into chapter 1, which is what? The structure. I told you HTML describes the structure of what? Web pages. So when we say the structure of an HTML, what do we mean? A lot of documents have a structure of how it is written. A lot of documents, they have the way you are supposed to what? To structure a particular document. So this is a copy of what? Of a newspaper. It has its own structure. It has some headlines here, boldly written, a very big heading here. It has some images inserted. It has some text boxes here. It has some paragraphs in there. This another heading is what as big as this one, and this looks like a logo kind of. This is another image. So this is the structure of this what particular newspaper. It has a featured image, so something like a footer or so over there, and has a banner. So this is the structure of the newspaper. There's another what document, the resume or the CV. It has a structure of the way it is written. This looks like a logo kind of. This is a heading. These are also some text and some paragraphs. Now if the paragraph is too big, or the heading or the topic is so big, it should have what? Headings, and it should get what? Sub headings. We are going to discuss everything in HTML and give you the structure of HTML as well. These are all other documents. This is a magazine. This is a magazine, and the magazine also has a kind of the structure they want it to what? To be designed in. This is an image. All the left column contains image, the right here contains paragraphs, and there's kind of a heading on top here. This is another resume. It has its own structure. This is a letter. It has its own structure. This is the address, and then it's on a letterhead. This like a footer kind of, and the address is written somewhere on top right corner. This or the left right corner. This is the salutation. There's a way everything is written. Okay, so this is the structure of HTML as we see it here. This is the DOM structure, the document object model of what? HTML. Now every HTML document has this. This is the tree structure. To explain the structure, we use this tree. Just like a human being, you have your head on top, or the topmost part, and you have your feet as your lowest point. Now in HTML, the very top part, the head part, is what? Is started with HTML. Now it starts with an HTML for a reason. It is just to tell the web browser that this document I'm typing is in HTML and not in CSS, and not in, let's say, Python, not in C or C++ or C#. If the moment you start your document or your structure with HTML, you are trying to tell the browser that this is an HTML document. Render it on the web browser when it is opened. I hope you get it. Now I spoke about element. Everything you see here has an opening and a closing tag. It has an opening and a closing tag. We will get into it one after the other. So if you check here, you see the HTML element is the root element of an HTML page. It just describes to the browser that this is an HTML document. So render it as such. Now the HTML has two main branches. That is the head and then the body. The head and then the body. These are the two main things that make an HTML document. This is the main thing. So HTML is like the mother element. It has two children, which is the head and then the body. The head and the body. Now let's go into our note. It says the head element contains the meta information about the HTML page. The head contains everything that the HTML page entails, and then the head also has one child. So the head also becomes now a mother, It also has what? One child element called a title. So from the head, we can get a title that is found in the head, and then the head found in the main HTML element. Another child of HTML is the body. The body, okay, before I come to the body, let me talk about the title. The title element is also used in specifying the title of the HTML page. This is mostly shown on the title bar of each browser. We will go into it, we will give examples, we are going to understand it further. Now let's go to the body, which is another child of what? Of HTML element. Now everything you see on your browser, apart from the title bar, every other thing, your paragraphs, your images, your videos, almost everything at all that you see on your web browser is what? It's embedded in the body. So HTML document, that is the full thing, the head and then the title contains things that are mostly in the title, but they are not displayed on the main white area, the main document area of the browser. It is all the information in the title is what is shown or displayed in the what? Title bar. Any other thing below the title bar is what? Is found in the body. So your paragraphs, everything about a paragraph, all the headings, all the tables, all the videos, all the pictures we are going to use are all found in the body. One other thing we can find in the body is a paragraph. So this P stands for paragraph. We are going to explain to detail. So it's not only paragraph, like I said. So it contains paragraph, it contains headings, it contains images, it contains hyperlinks, it contains tables, and even a lot of things. So the body here contains all other things. We cannot list all of them here. That's why we are using what? The paragraph to explain. Okay, that is the structure of HTML. Using this what? This DOM structure to explain HTML. So first of all, we have HTML element. It contains two main elements, which is the head element and then the body element. When I say head element, you should know an element contains a start tag or an opening tag and a closing tag with some content in between it. So that's an element. So this the head element, the body element. The body also contains all other elements that comes to the visible part of the browser. And the title contains information and the name of the web page. Kind of. We have H1 here. H1 is also an element. They are all found in what? In the body. Like I said, paragraphs can also be found in the what? In the body. I have created a file that explains the structure and saved it here. Let me just open this particular file. I'll show you how to create it. I'll show you how to create it yourself. Now, this particular file explains the structure of an HTML. Let's start from the title bar. Now, this part, which is the title Sewuni Coding School, is one part of what? The HTML document, which is what? The head part. And the head part contains the title part I explained here. And then this is a heading. Let me view the source. Let me show you the code that got this page. Now this is the code I used in getting what? In getting this particular nice looking document here, but it doesn't look very nice here. So this is what we're going to do in our text editors. So I'm going to explain this. Let me zoom it so I can explain it better. Now you see we enclosed everything we have here, every information we have here in what? In the HTML element. So you can see HTML. This is the start tag of HTML. an angle bracket and HTML written, and then what, the right angle bracket. So this is a left angle bracket and this is a right angle bracket, and then we close it at the bottom, which is what, an angle bracket, a forward slash, the name of the tag, which is HTML, and then what, we close it again with what, an angle bracket. We are just trying to tell the browser that from this part of the document, from line 1 of the document up to line 19 of the document, is what, an HTML document. So treat it as such. So from this end, you declare straightforward to the browser that this is an HTML document. This is an HTML document, straightforward, and it ends here. So anything between this and that is what, an HTML document. Now we went to the children of HTML. This is the first child of HTML. Definitely the head comes before the body. So this is the first part, which is what, the head. You can see it's an element. So you see what, the opening tag, it has what, the name of the element in it, head, and you see the head also what, closing. Just like a sandwich, when you slice one bread, you put it on top and you put the other slice under it, and then you can put anything you want to put, whether egg or any other thing you want to use for your sandwich in between it. So after HTML, declaring your HTML, you are supposed to indicate the first child, which is head. So you can see the head here, and you can see the head here. I also told you that the title is in the head. So when you open the head and you close the head, you are supposed to what, open title and close title. You can easily see this. You can explain it by just understanding the dome structure I showed you, the tree structure I showed you. So HTML, head, and then head. The head contains what, title. So you open title and you close title. Anything you type here, any content you type here will be displayed in our title bar here. So you can see it here. All the things I type between the opening and closing of the title, between the title element, is what is shown on my title bar here. That is perfect. So that worked perfectly. So we are done with the head. When we go further, we will discuss other things that can be added to the head. Now let's go to the body. So the body contains anything that is what, visual. So from this particular edge up to this white area, almost every part you see here is what, is part of the body. Anything you see from this edge to the end is what, is the body. So all our tables, all our images, all our paragraphs will be displayed here. So let's go back to our code. So body, when you open a body, what must you do? Of course, you must what, close the body. So everything that you type will be between this body and then this closing tag body. We indicated our first element, which is what, H1, which is what, heading 1. Welcome to SCS. You can see it here. Welcome to SCS. So anything you see displayed between the content or type between the content will be displayed on the browser for us to see. Exactly the same thing. So make sure what you are typing is the correct thing. If you type wrong things, you display wrong things to your viewers. And then I opened a paragraph. This paragraph ends here. It's a paragraph, and an H and an H. A closing tag should be here. So a paragraph, another paragraph here, and another paragraph that ends here. I have an H2 here, an H1 here, and H2 here. I will explain all those ones. The H1, as you see it here, is my first heading, is the biggest, and I have an H2 here, another heading, and I have another heading. In between the headings, I have what? I have paragraphs. This one paragraph, this another paragraph, and that is another paragraph. And that is how you what? You display HTML document. And then also bear in mind that HTML, or the browser renders information HTML from the head to the bottom. So if I change the structure and I bring this particular paragraph on top, it will display this one before displaying the other one. Just like what? Arranging things in the deck. The first one, the second one, the third one. So if you look at the chronology of this particular structure, I display this one first. That is why you actually see this on top. And this paragraph is second. So you display this paragraph second. It doesn't shuffle your arrangement. That is why structure is very, very important in what? In HTML. Now, I've been speaking about HTML element, HTML element, HTML element, HTML element. What is an HTML element? Now, an HTML element is what? Is defined by a start tag, some content, and an end tag. Just like you see it here. Tag name will come here. So whether it is head, HTML, paragraph P, H1, for heading 1, you write your whatever you want to display here, and then you end it by bringing what? A left angle bracket, a /, and the name of the tag you entered here, and then you use a right angle bracket. Now, the HTML element is everything from start tag to the end tag. Like I explained, H1 represents the biggest header, the biggest heading. Paragraph, this is our paragraph. It says some HTML elements have no content, like the BR element, which is what? The line break element. We will go into it. These elements are called empty elements. So some are not having content in between it. So they are what? Empty element. They do not have end tags because they do not have any content in between it. They do not also have what? An end tag. So these are some examples. H1, P, BR. This one represents the heading H1. This one represents a paragraph, and this one has no content in between it. So therefore it has no what? End. Hello and welcome to another lesson in our web development course. In this video we are going to talk about text editors and then web browsers. Now, text editors are programs that allows us to create and then edit text documents. So we listed some examples: Visual Studio Code, Sublime Text, Notepad++, and even Notepad, MS Notepad. We are going to download them onto our computers so that it will be easier for us to write our codes and then edit them. So first of all, go to our web browsers. Web browsers allows us to view whatever we've typed in our code editor. It allows us to render it for people to be able to see it on the internet. So web browser is simply a program that allows us to access the internet. I have about 3 examples here. So this is a Firefox browser, this is the Google Chrome browser, and that is Microsoft Edge browser. So we are going straight. You can use any of them and then go straight into the address bar and visit this website, code.visualstudio.com. code.visualstudio.com. It will open the home page to be able to download this. I can use this download button. I can also come here to click on this to show me the various versions that are available for different operating system. So if you are following me and you are using Mac, you can still use it. If you are using Linux, you can still use it. I'm using Windows, so I'll just click on it, on the download for Windows. I've already downloaded it, so I'll click on the downloads. you should see the progress here and then the application setup right here. So you can just open it in your downloads to be able to what? Install it. That is for Visual Studio Code. But for the purposes of this lesson, I want us to dwell on Visual Studio Code. But there are other examples, like I said. So this is Notepad++. We can get it at notepad-plus-plus.org. So you can get that one and download the version that suits our machine. And there's another one that is what? sublimetest.com. You can get Sublime Text Editor to also what? Download onto our machine. So like I said, we are going to use Visual Studio Code, and we will tell you why we prefer Visual Studio Code to other text editors. I also mentioned Microsoft Notepad, which is by default. This is Notepad. We all have Notepad on our computers. Those using Windows, you don't have to download it. If only you've not deleted it. By default, you should get what? Notepad on your computer. It comes with the what? Operating system. So if you don't want to go through the struggle of downloading Sublime Text, Notepad++, or Visual Studio Code, you can still what? Rely on your what? On your Notepad. Notepad is also a perfect software or a program that can allow us to what? To type in our text and then edit it in order to what? To render it or display it on the browser. So I'll go into my downloads folder and then try to install the Visual Studio Code setup. I have already installed it. So it is prompting me that I already have it and it's even opened. Alright, so you just follow the instructions on the normal setup installation. It's not difficult at all. If you have any difficulty installing it, please kindly let me know. I will help you in resolving that challenge. Now, after installing this, what you are going to face, you're going to get the very first welcome page on what? Visual Studio Code. This is the welcome page of Visual Studio Code, and we are going to tell you the reason why we are dwelling on what? Visual Studio Code and not any other browser. I told you there's a particular reason why I like Visual Studio Code. So let's just go into it, click on File, choose a new text file. Let me select the language. Let me just choose HTML. Now we are faced with what? An untitled document or an untitled text file. You can also see it here, untitled. Now, when you are on this page, you are not going to get the particular reason I asked us to what? To get Visual Studio Code. The reason is if I type my opening HTML tag, HTML, and I close my angle brackets for the opening tag, I'm not getting any autocomplete feature. And that is the reason I asked all of us to what? To get Visual Studio Code. It has very unique features for auto-completion. It has color coding too. It enables us to see where we've gone wrong. You can easily debug it also at the base here. Okay, if there are any problems, you can easily see, and then to show you which line has that problem, you can easily go there and then resolve it. So what I want us to do to get the machine ready for our HTML, I just want us to save our very first file. So let me just delete this, clean this. Let's save it. Let's save it to, you can save it to any name. Let's just save it to HTML. And every file in HTML, in order for it to show on the browser, must have an extension of HTML. So let me just write school.html. It should get an extension of what? HTML, in order for the browser to be able to what? To render that particular file. Okay, so let's just click on save. For now I'm saving it on the desktop, so let's just click on save, and I'll show you why I want you to download Visual Studio Code or VS Code. And we can see we have saved our first file, even though it is empty. You can also see it here, saved, and you can see the directory, the path. So school.html saved on a desktop. Alright, so let me just write my first HTML for you to see the reason why I asked you to. Now you see, when I type the HTML, I didn't type this particular one. I didn't type this. What I typed was the first one, and it did what? The auto completion for me. So this is the reason I want all of you to get it. It has cool features. When we start, I will show you other ones. One of it is the what? The auto completion, like I said. Okay, one of it is the auto completion, like I mentioned earlier. Okay, thank you for downloading the text editor of choice, even though I prefer you to get Visual Studio Code. And then also thank you for getting a browser to be able to render our code on it, because we are designing an application for the web. If I'm doing something for the internet or for the web, definitely we need a browser to be able to render that particular application. Thank you again. We'll meet in our next lesson.